Hello everyone, Emp here bringing you our next up Let's Code for March 1st. Today is also the first day of NaNoRenO, and if you guys have time after our 1-hour Let's Code sessions, hang around for doing sprinting for development for NaNoRenO. And so we're going to actually start coding today. I've just created a brand spanking new project called KamiDev, and I'm going to create a new file in there. I'm going to call it KD character.rpy.
What will we work on today? What will we work on today?
We are going to work on getting our very basic backend working so that we can have, hopefully by the end of tonight, we can have a little test battle that goes.
After a non-coder, what's backend? What's a backend as a non-coder?
Oh, okay. Backend is basically anything that goes on under the hood that you don't actually see. So front end is usually the display and the images and stuff like that. Backend is the more code, the stats, the things that are not obvious unless you specifically have a way to display them. So I'm talking about making the battle system right now, because the battle system is code that will not be displayed normally, but we can have it, we can put into the text some information about it and stuff like that. Okay, so I've made kdchar.rpy. I'm going to make an init Python. And in there, I'm going to make a class, and I'm going to call it KDChar. And we're going to make our init constructor, which will have self and level. And what else do we need? Yeah, our motivation. Recovery rate for the motivation. I'm going to call that MRR. MRR. And then it also says communication and teamwork on here. And then, of course, I need a list of skills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up all the things that we have already being given to us. So that's level, motivation, recovery rate, communication, teamwork, and a list of skills. I'm going to just save those into the object. And I'm also going to make a max motivation, which is going to be the maximum HP or whatever, which will also start off as motivation. If I can spell. And then there's one more thing we need to add. Besides the list of skills, we also need a listing of how they react to certain types of motivation. If we look in our game notes on the very bottom of the first page, it says you can motivate characters with bribery, encouragement, deadlines, competition, and of course lemonade, which is the OP option. And so each character has one thing that works best for them, so they'll have a list of basically like percentages for how well the things work for them. Obviously we're going to have to balance that a lot when we actually start putting real data in, but for now we can just put in the framework for it.
Do we need drop rates?
Drop rates? Not for the characters.
Oh, so we're going to tackle that later.
Yeah, I was thinking of making the characters and the tasks actually separate from one another instead of having one parent class, because they have different stats that they need. For instance, a task does not need communication or teamwork. So I'm going to call this modifications for lack of a better term at the moment for how we add motivation to somebody. And it's just going to be a list again. So this is what I have got so far. Just an init thing. Hey Ellie! You're always at dinner when we do the Let's Codes. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to make some attacks and leveling up and stuff like that. So the basic thing is we want to be able to attack with a skill against a task. So maybe we should make our base task as well. I'm going to go ahead and make that class, or make that file. And I'm going to call it task.rpy. And it's going to have an init. And it's going to take us, let's give it a name. We should probably add a name to a KD char as well. And maybe some kind of sprite image or something like that. Just things so that we can eventually display them. So the task will also have a name and a sprite, but it will have a skill name or target skill or something like that. Target skill. And let's see, what else does a task need to have? I guess health.
What were you asking again, Fish?
What things does a task, which is the enemy thing, need to have?
So it has damage.
Yes, so it's going to have some kind of attack thing. So I'm thinking of calling that difficulty. Or do you think that would be better as defense?
Okay.
Let's give it difficulty for defense and attack for now. We can always tweak it later.
So they'll have the same value? Attack and defense.
No, they're two different things.
But I thought you were assigning it to difficulty.
So difficulty is the defense, and then we'll have a separate attack.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Health equals health. Self.max health equals max health. Self.difficulty equals difficulty. And self.attack equals attack. So that's our task. Let's say for now we'll keep it really simple, like when we do an attack or a do work function for the KD character, we'll just take in a target, basically. So I'm going to define a function in the KD character class called do work. And we will say you have me on speaker. Oh God. So we're going to say skill name equals target.target skill. And then we're going to need to figure out which one of our skills defines our attack against the task. So let's actually make our skill class for right now, because we need to get that out of the way as well. Oh, and here is what I have for task so far. Just the init function so far. We're going to keep adding incrementally as we go. So this one is going to be into the game folder. Skill.rpy. So I'm going to make a comment of our different skill types. Which, according to our doc, is brainstorming, outlining, coding, drawing, writing, composing, and marketing. Okay, so I'll write those down. Compose, marketing. Okay, so I'm going to make another class, which is going to be called skill. And we're going to make its init function to set up its variables. Let's give it a name, its own level. Let's see what else. Besides the name and a level, what does a skill need? What do you guys think? It's so quiet. Camp, what are you typing? An ID? Okay, an ID number sounds good. We can always get rid of it later if we find out we don't need it. Okay, so let's start with that for now. And once again, we're going to start with experience at 0. I'm going to call it ID num because I don't want it to be a keyword there. There we go. Okay, so yes, everyone, well, okay, so the thing about skills is there are the basic categories of skills, but each person is going to have their own skill set, which is one of each of those skills, but at different levels and experience amounts, because the skills can level up too. Right, so we're going to have multiple copies of brainstorming skills and all that jazz, so yeah. So when we do our work, we're going to say our skill name equals our target skill there for our KDchar. We're in that file now. After we've gotten our skill name, we need to pick out the right skill from our dictionary of skills. So I'm going to say you know what? Let's abstract. No, never mind. That's a bad idea. Because we're going to include criticals and other buffs, maybe, I don't know, later on. So we can't abstract it just to the skill and make the skill do it. But we can say level equals self dot skills at skill name dot level, and then we'll make some calculation against the target difficulty. So let's say damage equals level times 2 minus target dot difficulty. I don't know. We'll certainly have to balance that out later, but for now, why not? And then so we'll say if damage is less than 1, damage is going to be 1, so we always do at least 1 damage, even if we're really weak. And then after we do the damage, so we're going to say target dot take damage. After we do that, we have to give experience to the skills. Yes, we are doing skills now. So we need to do something like self.skills skill name dot add experience target dot difficulty. So add experience is obviously something I haven't created yet, and so is take damage. So here's our do work function so far. That's right. Skills do consume motivation. That is a very good point. So do you guys want skills to have a particular set amount that they take, or do you want it to be based on their level? So like the more skilled you are, the less motivation it takes you to be able to do it. So it's either set, or the more skilled you are, the less motivation it takes to actually do the skill. Well, Chair, there's only there's skill categories, and you're always going to be doing a thing from that category, but there's not going to be, different skills with different names. There's not going to be different kinds of writing, you know? There's not going to be like the higher level writing or whatever. Okay, so second question is, do we want not like a Pokemon game. It's just you have these skills in these categories and that's it. And then they grow. The second thing is, do we want our motivation consumption to be a flat number or a percentage of the total motivation to consume? Because I feel like if it's flat, you'll end up using almost all your motivation early game to do anything at all because your skills will be so much lower. I guess we could do that. But then in order to do that, I think, or at least in order to do that well, we might have to take a pointer to a custom method for computing how much motivation it takes. Which we could do for sure. But it's just like, do you guys want to do that? So do we want to add in function pointers at this early stage is what I'm saying. Because I know that that's a tricky concept for a lot of people. And
what's a function pointer?
Exactly, right? Basically, you can feed the name of a function into somewhere else, and that gives you a handle so that you can call the function later yourself. It's a pretty advanced concept, and not all languages support it. But Python does.
So if that's advanced, what's the basic way?
The basic way would be to have it have the same or very similar behavior based on internal structure of the class itself for every skill. Basically, the more you standardize it, the less you have to deal with special cases, the simpler it is to code.
So it's a flat, like, value for all characters? Is that...
No, it can be either flat or a percentage. Either way is approximately the same difficulty to code. But if you try to mix and match, then you have to get more specific and have special cases and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Oh, Camp wants the function pointers? Alright. You know that that means that we're probably going to end up making it so that different people's skills have different rates or something, some other crazy crap like that, right? Yes, I know I can, but I'm betting somebody, maybe even you, is gonna be pushing for having. Yeah, okay. All right, let's go with the function pointers then, and then we'll basically be delaying the decision about how we want to do it yet. So then, we're gonna have to, in skill, we're gonna have to have another parameter in our init function, which is gonna be our function pointer. And what shall we call it? Let's call it consumption or something like that, for how much motivation it consumes. And then we'll say def consume motivation self max motivation, and then we will say return self dot consumption max motivation. So it's basically like passing the buck at this point. So this is what I have for the class skill at the moment, for the whole class. As you can see, I'm treating consumption like a variable here in the init part, and then I'm calling it as a function later. And that is what a function pointer is, basically, or at least that's how you use one. And then later on, when we actually make these skills, we're going to have to pass in the name of a function that will take in one variable that's the max motivation and return how much motivation will get consumed. So it can be really simple, like the flat ones can just be like return 15 or something like that, and totally ignore what the max motivation is, or it can be return something to do with the level or whatever. Oh, we need the level in to play into that as well. So okay, so max motivation and level, or self.level. So I'm gonna take like a 2-minute cooldown break where I'm just gonna ask how you guys are doing. How do you feel you're following? Where do you like the direction we're going in? Just, I want to give you guys a short break, especially because you can't see as much what I'm doing as the actual video viewers can.
YouTube.
What?
This is gonna be on YouTube, right?
Yes, it is. It's just that I'm not streaming at the moment.
Share that video. Press that like button. See more fanfish.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Okay, so nobody has any underlying confusions that I need to address right now, Oh, that might be a connection issue. I'm not sure. Is it just my voice or is it everybody's voices? Oh, just mine. Great. I'm sorry, my internet sucks. So if there's anything that you guys miss halfway through, just ask me to repeat it and I will, or I'll type it to make sure that you get it. So, yeah. Just let me know. What is not typing? Oh, it's Discord? Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Options. Input, volume. Okay. So, I'm going to turn the sensitivity down so that it can pick it up easier. Oh, I should move it up? Okay, that's where I was putting it. Okay. Is this any better? Alright, cool. So let's get back to it. Welcome to Rosario for joining us. Thank you so much. Right now we are working on getting our skills to consume motivation, and we have decided to use function pointers to achieve that. And so in KDchar we have this consume motivation thing in the skill that we're going to call. So we're going to say consumption equals self.skills skill name dot consume motivation, and we will add our max motivation. And that should be enough to make it so that the function pointer gets called. So we should be in good shape for there once we actually make ourselves a test battle. So then, after we have, the next thing we need to do here is, here's our do work thing right now. Motivation is both health and mana. We're doing a weirdness like that. Okay, bye, chair. And then so we've figured out our consumption, and then we have to remove it from our motivation. So we're going to say self.motivation minus equals consumption. And then let's say we're going to allow you to kill yourself off by consuming too much motivation. So if self.motivation is less than 0. Self.motivation goes to 0. And let's say even return there. So you don't even get to do damage if you consume too much. If you consume too much motivation, you don't even get to do damage with your skill. You'll just get the backlash. Camp, you don't like it? Well, what would you suggest? Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Let us say def died, which takes self, will return, we'll say if self.motivation is less than 0, self.motivation equals 0, and return whether self.motivation equals 0. And then then I can just say if go away Dropbox. If self.died, then we'll return. Okay, so here is our died function. Oh, oops, I should probably put that in code format. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so now we have a death check. Okay, so if we died, we do not get to do our damage, and we do not get to add experience to our skill. So the next thing to do is to add experience to, let's just say add experience target, so that we can, instead of target.difficulty, so that we can get more experience when you actually defeat somebody than when you just do some work. Because that sounds cool. So a skill will have add exp self target, and then we'll say if target.died, so we're going to create that as well. Then so let's create a multiplier. So let's say if you kill the task, you get 3 times the experience. Maybe. Sure, why not? So it's going to start off at 1, and if the target died, we're going to say multiplier equals 3. Then we're going to say, well, we need a max experience. So let's create a function for deciding what the maximum experience needed is to level up a skill. And it can be something really simple for now. Def set max exp self And let's say self.max exp equals self.level times 3 and then plus 5 or something like that. Just a really simple function for now. So then we're going to have to call that in our init, self.setMax exp. So then after we've added our exp, we're gonna say we are going to add experience to our current experience. So let's say experience gained equals multiplier times target.difficulty. So the more difficult a task is, the more experience you get for either completing it or for at least attempting it. So then we'll say self.experience plus equals experience gained. Then we'll say, let's make a level up thing. A level up function, def level up. If self.experience, yeah, it's not going to be quite that simple, Rosero. So first we have to check if self.experience is greater than or equal to self.max experience. Or let's say if it's less than, we'll return early, so that's easier. We'll return false in that case. And then otherwise, we're going to say self.level plus equals 1. Self.exp minus equals self.max exp. And then self.setMax exp again. And then we'll return true. And then what do we want to do with the decision of whether we leveled up or not? Do we want to pass that along so that we can make a sound or show an image or something like that? Or do we not care for now? Alright, so let's just let it fall for now, and then we have the hook in there for using it later. Okay, so then after we add the experience, we're going to call self.level up. And we're not going to do anything with the return value right now, but it will do that for us. Actually, we should do, put this in a while loop so that if we get a whole shit ton of experience, we can level up more than once. So we'll say while self.level up, do flashy stuff here. I'll just say pass for now. And then that might be it for adding experience. So here's what our skill class looks like right now. So that will continue to level up as long as necessary, and we can hook it into something else later to make it actually look pretty. So then, the skill class might be in a good shape right now. And we are almost out of time because we need to do the sprints after this. What last things do we need to do to get the do work function to work? It looks like we need to have tasks take damage because we've already done the add experience. So I'm going to add a take damage function to the task class. Hey, Ellie.
Hello.
Hi, we're almost done for the night, but we'll be doing sprints after this.
I see. I think Charles will want me to stick around for the sprints, so I'll stick around.
Okay, cool.
How's Let's Code going?
It's going pretty well. We've got a pretty good framework skeleton going at the moment.
So I should probably ask, what's the genre and topic of this project?
It's an RPG, and it's the topic is game dev. It's kind of like I'm meaning for it to be kind of like a parody, you know? I want it to be relatively lighthearted.
Okay.
And then other than that, this is up to the will of the group to decide, you know?
I see.
Yes, hello, cat. Okay, so we are going to we need to add two things to the task class, which is the died and the take damage. So let's do take damage first. And for that, it's going to be really simple because the check for death is going to be somewhere else. So we're going to say self.health minus equals amount. And I think that might be it for that function. And then we're going to say def died self. And we're going to say if self.health is less than 0, self.health equals 0, and then return self.health equal to 0. Yes, that's what we're doing, kitty. Okay, so then Katie character, let's say your skills only level up, you only gain experience if you actually defeat a task. Your skills can gain experience every time you use them, but you personally do not gain experience to level up unless you complete a task. So we're going to say, if target dot died, so if we killed the target after they took damage, then we're going to do add experience with the target. And so then we're going to have to redo some stuff from skill, the level up and set max experience and stuff like that. I'm going to add a max experience to the function to the KD character class. Def set max exp self, and I'm going to just take it wholesale from the skill one. So that's going to be self.max exp equals self.level times 3 plus 5. And we can always tweak this later, so it doesn't really matter at the moment. And then we'll say def add experience self target. And then how shall we add experience? Like, how much experience do you guys want to get for defeating somebody? I guess I can just take it from the skill again for now. Let's say, because we already know they died, we'll say experience gained equals 3 times... Right, it's going to be based on the difficulty of the task. Because the task doesn't itself have a level, because they don't level up and there's no point to that, but they do have a health and a difficulty rating. So we'll use that. And I'm going to just put a hardcode 3 in there because we know it's dead, and we can change that later as we tweak it or whatever. And then, and we can even make it so that some characters gain more than others if you guys want. That's totally an option. And then we're going to add it to the experience. Okay. And then so the last thing we need is a level up function, which is going to be just like the skills level up function. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that from the skill again, because the leveling up is going to work the same way for both of them. Okay, so we are just about out of time, so we don't have time to actually write a test battle. We'll be doing that next week, or maybe I'll make a video just testing it out sometime during the week, depending on what you guys want, and then we can go from there. So here is our final code. We have 3 files right now besides the default ones. This is our KD character. Oh, I need to fix that. The do work needs to take self as well as target. Hey. Well, you're late for the let's code.
never said I'd be at the Let's Code. I said I wouldn't be at the Let's Code.
I know.
How could I be late if I wasn't at home?
Yeah. Okay, so there's our KamiDev character file. Here is our current skill file. And then finally, there's our task file. And that is what we have accomplished tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. So long for now.